Hey everyone, welcome back to Blueprint Japan, where we talk honestly about what it's like to build a life and a business in Japan as a foreigner. And today, I want to share something a little bit more personal. I came to Japan using a visa that most people have never even heard of. It is called the J-Find visa. And that visa, believe it or not, gave me the chance to live here without a job offer, without starting a business yet, and without a long term plan fully in place. And now that I'm slowly coming to the end of that visa, I want to walk you through what that visa is, how it works, and what it's really been like from the inside, how you can get it, and most importantly, what you cannot do with that visa. And so I made those mistakes so that you don't have to. And if you're curious about moving to Japan, but you are not sure where to start, this might be the right door you didn't know existed. Let's dive in. Thank you so much for listening. Stay humble, stay curious. Let's go. Okay, so what is the J Find visa and who is it for? So, the idea behind the visa is actually really, really smart. The J Find visa is designed for people who basically just finished university at one of the world's top schools. And it's designed for people who would like to come to Japan to look for work, explore opportunities, or even prepare to start their own business. And the best part is you don't need to have a job offer to apply. And that was a huge deal for me because looking back at, my work history, I want to say I wasn't ready to join another company and I didn't want to commit to like a language school. And usually in order for you to get to Japan, you need to first have a company that will hire you. So you need to sign the contract. They will apply for your COE called the Certificate of Eligibility. And then once you have that document, you can either apply at your local embassy or the company will do that for you as your proxy. And so I was here 2023 on a tourist visa and just before going back home to Switzerland to Zurich in April, the government launched this new visa and I applied for it. And that itself is worth a podcast episode. But today is really about the J-Find visa itself. And so I applied for it. I got the COE to my friend's house here in Japan. He took it with him. Shout out to Mert. He took it with him when he came back home during summer break, gave that document to me, and then I went to the local Japanese embassy in Bern. I applied for the visa and got it within 5 days. And so that visa is essentially the key to what I'm doing right now in Japan because it gave me a chance to really get on the ground, meet people, do my own thing, and kind of like figure things out in real time. And so, what are the eligibility requirements? Well, to apply, you really need to fulfill three things. First, you need to have a bachelor's degree or higher. So, it can be a bachelor's, a master's, MBA, a doctor's, PhD, whatever. It just needs to be at least a bachelor's degree. You must have graduated within the last 5 years. And that applies to the year you are applying for the COE. So, say if you're applying in 2025, your graduation must not be older than 2020. So, if it's 2019, you can't apply for this visa. That's the second point. Number three is your university has to be listed in at least two of the three global top 100. I know a lot of numbers. University rankings. So that is the QS World Ranking, the Times Higher Education Ranking, and I believe it is called the Shanghai World Ranking. Shanghai, let me look it up. It's called Shanghai Ranking, basically. Um, yeah, so they announced the global ranking of academic subjects called GRAS. So I had all of that in place. Luckily, University of Zurich was like, when I applied in 2023, we were, I think, place 87. I don't want to lie. I can look it up, but I believe we were 87. So I barely made it. This year, fun fact, and to anyone listening from Zurich, it's your last chance probably to apply for this visa because we are on place 100. 100 right now. But yeah, so I didn't know that the government was going to launch that visa. I just heard one day before they actually did that. So I prepared all my documents. And yeah, it's relatively unknown still, even among, people who already live in Japan. So when I interact with people and they go like, "Oh yeah, what visa are you on?" And I go like, "It's called J-Find." They won't know. HR people don't really know. Companies don't know. And so yeah. Um so if you're really thinking about getting that visa, check the latest QS ranking or Times Higher Education THE ranking or Shanghai ranking. And if your university is in at least two of those lists within the first 100, you can go for it and apply. But keep in mind, rankings do change over year, and my university is falling behind, but I was lucky enough to apply for this visa. Do you need a job offer to apply? No, absolutely not. And that is exactly what makes this visa different. Most other Japanese visas do require you to be hired first and then sponsored by a company. The other option is you come here on a student visa. So you go to a language school, and a lot of language schools actually do sponsor your visa. So they handle everything from application of COE to the visa, maybe even your housing. So it's really good start if you want to come to Japan and see, you don't want to commit to a full-time work. Plus, the student visa allows you to work up to 28 hours per week, which is pretty good. And in my case, I came without anything locked in, which kind of has two sides to it. It was super nerve-wracking, but at the same time very exciting. And if there's something about me I learned, I still learn day to day again and again. I'm kind of like a problem maker, like a troublemaker, but I also like solving problems. So it was kind of like very suited for me. And it gave me space to figure out where I fit in Japan's ecosystem. It's I know I didn't want to work at a Japanese company. Obviously, I was not really ready to start a company myself. And so that was the perfect opportunity for me. And language school, I have to say, in hindsight, I regret not going to language school when I first came here. I thought about it. I have classes once a week still, but that's nowhere enough. It's just to keep my level where it is. But I think investing in yourself when you come here and really like just taking a bullet for 6 months or 1 year that passes so fast. Just do it. If you want to go for the certificate N2 N1, whatever that is, it's really not that of a big deal. I made that mistake. I hope others won't make it. But yeah. So, can I work on the J-Find visa or can I freelance? Well, kind of yes, but no. It has limitations. So, you are technically allowed to work to an extent that lets you support yourself. So, what that means is you can work to cover your living expenses. That is their legal. So legally, that phrase is stated. You can work up to X amount of hours that lets you cover your living expenses. And now that was, for me, that was a gray zone because, some people, their living expenses per month is maybe 200,000 yen. For others, it's a million yen. depends really on your lifestyle. So I was like, well, I just, go for project, like monthly stuff or like part-time stuff. And so it's not really a full working visa. Once you sign a contract with a company for a full-time working visa, full-time gig, sorry, you do need to change to a working visa. You can take on a full-time job with a J-Find visa, and companies can't really sponsor you with the J-Find. And they might even get, well, have to pay a fine, have to pay a fee if immigration kind of finds out. So what you can do instead is freelance, pick up part-time work, or do consulting as long as it's enough to cover your living expenses and it doesn't really interfere with the purpose of the visa, which is again job hunting or business preparation. And so that's exactly what I have been doing. I never had a full-time gig, and everyone who worked with me who is listening to this episode, they will know that I never had a full-time role in Japan in the last 2 years. And so everything was project work, even with Kumori. The thing is, I needed to have a legal entity to accept work and invoice my clients. And so that's why I started Kumori as a um, sole proprietorship. So I am registered. And yeah, it was always project work or like a 3 month thing, but never a full time gig for like half a year, 1 year. And so a few small freelance jobs, just enough to get by while staying focused on long-term plans. Okay, so next up is how long does that visa last? Well, that really depends. The visa itself gives you 2 years, and there's two forms to that. You can get it initially for 6 months, or you can get it initially for 1 year. So, for example, I got it for 1 year. I renewed it in 2024, and now I am running out on my second year, basically. I have a friend who lives in Osaka. He got it initially for 6 months. He renewed it once, got it another 6 months, renewed it again another 6 months. And right now he is actually on his last 6 month term until October. Funny enough, he was like, hey man, Japan is not really for me. I lived here for 2 years. It was great. I did my thing, but now I'm going to Korea. And actually, and this is the first platform you will hear about this, I promise you, Korea just launched a new visa. It's nowhere online yet. It's called the D10T visa. It's a top tier university visa, basically exactly the same like the J-Find visa, but for Korea. So if Japan wasn't really my dream or my goal or where I, felt safe, I would consider that. If, my goal was to just explore a little bit and do my own thing in Asia, that's what I would go for. But anyways, to renew the visa, you have to prove that you have been actually actively been doing what the visa allows you to do. So when I renewed my visa, I'm thinking back right now, I sent all my email. And when I say all, I do mean all my email communication with law firms, reaching out to potential clients, obviously um, blurring out the name of that company. I know it's immigration, but still, you never know. So my email communications, I gave them photos of events that I was doing, and I did like events in 2 digits and whatever just helped get my visa renewed. And I think I also included my communication with TOSBEC, so the Tokyo One Step Business Establishment Center. Shout out to by now my friends at TOSBEC. They do a great job with helping and supporting foreign business owners, foreign entrepreneurs, I want to say. And yeah, so how much money do I need to show to get the visa? Well, you have to have 200,000 yen for your initial stay. And let me tell you something, for a Tokyo resident, 200,000 yen is not going to get you anywhere. Especially in my case, and this kind of connects to, the next point. I could not rent a proper and unfurnished apartment with the J-Find visa. It was so bad. Because usually when you apply for an apartment, you have many players involved. So you have the management company, you have the guarantor company, you have your real estate company. So one problem was no real estate company knew the J-Find visa. I contacted so many. That's why I slowly tapped into the real estate market, especially lately. No one knew about the visa, so they couldn't really help me. I even have a Japanese friend who runs his own real estate company, same age, really successful. And he was the only one initially that could convince the management company and the guarantor company to get me the apartment I applied for. To, my, what do you call it? To my luck, someone else applied before me. So in Japan, how it works is you have usually one apartment can usually have 3 applicants. And so the first one, it's really first come, first serve. The first one, if they jump off, it'll go to the second one. If the second one jumps off to the third one, and then it'll start again. And so we applied, we were a little bit too late. And so I was the second one, but by the time management company would have accepted my application, they said, hey, we have someone who was first. So yeah, because I couldn't rent a proper unfurnished apartment, I had to go for Airbnbs at first, which are super expensive, and also furnished apartments. There are many great companies out there. And obviously this podcast, because I don't have any listeners yet, is to I can't get any sponsors, but some companies I rented from was Dash Living and Hamlet Japan, HMLET. I was in contact with Weave Living. I just didn't vibe with them. They probably didn't vibe with me. They were not really the friendliest. And so, yeah, I didn't choose them over the other two. And it's super convenient because you can explore areas. You can get a small, like 27 square meters, 30 square meters apartment. So I moved from Airbnbs to furnished apartments, and I moved from Yoyogi to Yoyogi Uehara to Ryogoku to Roppongi. Like, I was so tired. And eventually, after 2 years, I found an apartment. Shout out to apts.jp. They helped me with everything. And yeah, I found my place. I found my place in Asakusa. And so that was really bad. Getting an apartment on the J-Find visa. Again, because I was probably the first one to apply for an apartment under that visa, just no one knew what to do with that. Because you usually, the management company and guarantor company, they look at your employer. So they look at your salary, at your contract with the employer, and who your employer is. Because your employer basically gives the guarantor company the security and the guarantee that you will get paid so you can pay your rent. And so usually guarantor company pays your rent on your behalf to the management company, and you pay your own rent to the guarantor company. It's a lot of companies involved. And so that was tough. The second toughest point was I couldn't open a bank account for my life within the first 6 months. Again, when you land in Japan, usually that's the very normal way. You will have a job offer, so you will have a contract, and someone from the HR department or the legal department of that company, if it's a small company, some admin staff will come with you and open a bank account where the company's bank is registered at. So everything goes smoothly. In my case, I was here for less than 6 months. I wanted to open a bank account. It just did not happen. Even with Yucho, Japan JP Post, well, JP Bank, Japan Post Bank, they are known to be the most like the most open-minded when it comes to opening a bank account. Even there, it just did not work. They were like, we don't know what that visa is, so we can't open you a bank account. So if you are a problem solver, you will find a solution. It's really about how creative you can think. And one thing I want to say is, because I need to be careful, there is always a solution in Japan for a challenge, a problem, because now hold yourself tight. There's 99.9% there will be a form to fill out for almost anything. So in my case, I found that one thing. Feel free to reach out what that was. Happy to hop on a call. And so I filled that out. I went to the bank, and within 20 minutes, but that was 5 months after I arrived in Japan, because it took me that long to like do my research and get accustomed and, understand the system. By the way, that's why many, especially young foreign people who come to Japan, they leave Japan full of hatred, full of like disappointment because Japan failed them. It's really because they did not understand the Japanese system. Yes, things take longer here, but if you know how to navigate the system, I promise you, there's almost always a way to make things faster and more uncomplicated. Anyways, 5 months in, so we are writing December 2023. I could go um to a bank and get my bank account. Now, I got my the cash card, the credit card in January because it was December when I applied for it, and then there was like Christmas and stuff going on. And so yeah, anyways, January, got the bank. And that was kind of like the first step into financial freedom, because from that point on, and I had already crossed 6 months by then, so it didn't really matter. I could start to invoice my clients and get actually paid for the work that I was doing for them, do more client acquisition calls and outreach. So, yeah. Okay, back to the visa. How do you actually apply for the J-Find visa? Well, you can either apply from abroad through your embassy, well, not embassy, but local Japanese consulate, or from inside Japan if you are here on either another visa, student visa, working visa, and you want to change, or you are here as a tourist. You can then apply for COE at immigration and apply for the visa in your home country or anywhere else where your home country's consulate will accept applications. So in my case, to give you a perspective, I applied from within Japan. So I submitted a change of status from tourist to J-Find. But to do that, I first had to apply for the certificate of eligibility, so the COE. The COE is basically a piece of paper that grants you your visa application. So it checks that you are eligible for the visa that you are applying for. And so I send in my diploma in English. I didn't translate it, I had it from my university. So my English diploma, my proof of graduation date, a really detailed letter explaining why I wanted to stay in Japan and apply for the J-Fine visa, proof of funds, that was just a screenshot of my Swiss bank account, and my address in Japan. Now, obviously, on a tourist visa, you don't really have an address in Japan, like legally speaking. But again, there's always a form for something in Japan. So what I did was I explained my situation to immigration, and one of the officers said, and this is Tokyo, so I can't really talk about other prefectures, but in Tokyo, he said, "Well, we have a form where you can state that you are staying with a friend and that and you can send the COE basically to your friend's house." So I did that. I wrote down Mert's address and they sent the COE to Mert in like about 2 months. But again, every immigration office might ask for slightly different things. So I recommend just preparing, more than you think you will need. And I also submitted my resume, so my CV, because they want to check your background. They want to see that you are actually eligible. It wasn't needed. I just, you know, um, wanted to give them a full picture of who I was on paper. So yeah, what did I actually do on after that? So I received the COE within 2 months, and then I went to the local Japanese embassy in Switzerland. I applied for the J-Fine visa and got it in 5 days. That was super seamless. And so what can I actually do on this visa? So what I have done so far is I attended and organized networking events. I set up freelance projects. I've had conversations with potential clients. I explored startup options, many ideas. And I think this is, at least to me, the most important part. I learned so much about the Japanese culture. And when I say Japanese culture, I don't mean matcha and geisha and all those touristy things. I really do mean trying to understand how people function here, how the system works, how it functions, and how you can turn every challenge to an upside, to a positive point for your life here and not get frustrated and, angry about the system. There are so many foreigners who complain about Japan and how Japan is set up and all the slow systems and how Japan is being like super unfriendly and um what's the word, foreigner. It's really not that. You just don't know how to navigate it. And if you are one of those people and you're listening, I hate to break it to you, but you're just not made for Japan. And if the only thing is if the only thing that you can do is complain about how Japan is, just leave. That's fine. No one forces you into being here. So if Japan gives us the opportunity to set up businesses that wouldn't have, we wouldn't, you know, be successful to have in our own countries. It would not work. And we all know that. And so I believe a little bit appreciation towards a system, a country. I'm not talking about the people. I'm really talking about like the structure and the legal system of Japan that allows you to be here. Just be appreciative a little bit more, and life will be same appreciative towards yourself. So yeah, I think those were my biggest challenges. So yeah, what happens when the visa ends? Kind of like Oh, maybe one point that I forgot. To renew the visa, you really need to show immigration that you were working like hard on the things you said you would do. If you can't show them any proof and you were just like chilling life and traveling the country, which obviously is part of it, I did that. But if you're just here without trying to land a job, without doing part time or project work, freelance, and without, you know, building your business, immigration has no reason whatsoever to extend your visa. So, what happens when the visa ends? You do have few options. You can get a full time job offer, and then you switch to a working visa. You start your own company and apply for the business manager visa. And if you meet certain criteria, you could potentially qualify for the HSP, highly skilled professional visa, and change the J find to an HSP visa. And so, yeah, it's sooner or later, the transition point will come and it will be a little bit stressful. But I think if your ambition, if your goal, if your dream is to stay in Japan, that's a great three options to have. And obviously you can always go for a fourth route, that is apply for a student visa and just, you know, explain to immigration that you want to dive deep into Japanese language and learn it until you become business fluent or, near native, and then get the student visa. Okay, so what would I do differently if I would hear this podcast and, would apply for it? I think I would definitely prepare everything a little bit earlier. So financially, mentally, strategically, and I would definitely reach out to more people on LinkedIn, especially before arriving. I would get my Japanese resume ready and I would 100% get my portfolio ready, which will be an episode itself, but that will start conversations with potential collaborators or even employers in advance, because having a nice paper is fine, but showing what you can do and what you did do actually, that takes you to the next level. And also, I would document my whole process better from day zero, because now I realize how little information is out there about all these things. And the information that is out there is in Japanese. And I think I would have documented everything just like for myself, and then maybe put it on YouTube or LinkedIn and whatnot. But that's something that I regret not doing. Would I recommend the visa? Absolutely, 100%. But only if you are ready to take initiative and work on yourself. So it's not really a vacation visa. I see this visa as a tool. And if you're someone who is self directed and genuinely wants to build a future here, at least for the next 2 years, you can use the next 2 years as a gap, as a bridge year, gap year, but you still have to work on yourself and on your business and building your life. I was 26 back then. I'm turning 29 in 12 days. Gee, I was like, I'm still like my 30s are so far away. I was a fool. I'm turning 30 next year, and for probably a lot of listeners, that will be like, "Oh, like you're so young and you are just turning 30 and life is ahead." Well, yes, but everything else is also happening faster, and there's, am I going to start a family? Am I going to have kids? What about my financial goals in life? Can I give back to my parents, to, my friends who are in need? Can I set up multiple businesses? It just I kept telling myself, "Oh, I have years, like I'm still young. I'm turning 30 next year." And I just realized that last week. And so, yeah, it's an amazing tool. It can give you just enough room to make happen whatever you want to make happen. And yeah, you do have to move fast. For sure, you do have to stay proactive. And it's okay to be uncertain from time to time. It just work on your stuff. Like you're right, you like writing, write. You like producing videos, do it. You like, I don't know, being a consultant, do it. It's a perfect visa for that. That said, one more thing before finishing. There is a sister visa, brother visa of the J Find called J Skip. It's basically the exact same visa, but it lets you do more. It's kind of the HSP visa. You just need to prove that you have an annual income of, I think, 20 million yen, which is 120,000 Swiss francs, I believe. But else the requirements are same. So you might want to have a look into that. And yeah, if you do have any more questions, let me know. That's it for today's episode. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I really hope this helped you understand what JFind Visa is, what it looks like in practice. And again, if you do have questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn or through, email. If you know someone who is curious about life in Japan, feel free to share this episode with them. And yeah, the podcast is growing just like me, hopefully. And so, yeah, thank you so much for being part of it. My name is Osan, and this is Blueprint Japan. Stay humble, stay curious. Catch you next time.